all the knitting that I've accomplished. Today I'm giving you a weekly update on everything that I've been knitting, and there's so much pink. So let's dive in. Welcome back, friends. If you're a returning viewer, thanks for joining me again. If you're a new viewer, welcome. My name is Melissa. I'm the dyer behind Rising Tide Fiber Company. And this is my little corner of the internet where I talk about everything that I'm knitting, crocheting, reading, all the things. So today, I don't have any finished objects. Everything is a work in progress. So let's dive in. First up is my Nightlights shawl. This is a pattern by Andrea Mowry, and I have made no progress on this. So there's nothing new to talk about this. I am in the same spot I was last week. If you are new here, I am using my Colorways Silver Lining, which is the dark charcoal, and Petal Power, which is this bright pink colorway. I have cast on quite a few new projects, so even though I got to the halfway mark and I need to start my decreases, I did not in the last week start those decreases. But I did look at the calendar and realize, oh, I've got 2 weeks until Frederick. So I'm hoping in 2 weeks I will get all those decreases done and then get it blocked, ends woven in, so that I can have it for Frederick Fiber Festival. That is being knit on a US 6, which is a 4mm needle. Again, I am exactly at the halfway mark, so it should get faster and faster as I'm on the decrease versus the first half, which got to a point where it felt like I was in a slog because it just kept getting wider and wider and wider. But now we've hit the midpoint. The other thing that I started last time, and I have not made any progress, is my Jaunty shawl. This was something that I kind of got that new pattern fever, and Andrea Mowry released a small, well, it varies in size, but mine is a shawl pattern. It's using DK weight, and that's the Jaunty shawl. And as you can see, I haven't made any more progress than I had before. I put a progress keeper in and I just never picked this back up. This, however, is not a priority for me as much as I love this pattern. It's a half fisherman's rib, and I love it because it's just a 4-row repeat. It's great for social knitting. The Nightlight shawl is definitely going to take priority. For this one, I am using a colorway that was in my Advent last year, the Taylor Swift, the Tortured Poets Department. That is the name of this colorway, the Tortured Poets Department. It is a beautiful mauve pink, and I love how this is knitting up, and it's so squishy, and I love it. It's knit on a US 5, a 3.5mm needle, but I haven't brought this colorway is just left over. It was limited edition. I have considered bringing it back into my standard lineup, but I wouldn't think to do that until after this was done, and even possibly unless there was some sort of demand for it. So we'll see. I'm not saying never, just not right now. And again, this is going to turn into a project that is just really nice for social knitting when I'm online with friends knitting, but there's no rush or priority. The other thing that I did not get to, and you're going to see why, because I cast on a lot of new things this week, but the other thing that I talked about last week that I wanted to cast on was my Raven socks. I wound the yarn up. I had every intention of casting on, but I just didn't get to it. So I need to get these cast on, because if I have a sample in a few weeks, then it can be on the mobile truck for Frederick. So I do foresee myself getting that cast on this weekend. Now for all my new cast-ons. I have 4 new cast-ons. Hence why I didn't touch the 2 works in progress I have. I haven't touched my Fleetwood sweater either, and I just have sleeves to do. Shame on me. But I haven't felt like having the weight of a sweater in my lap lately, and I always kind of peter out with sweater projects when I get to the sleeves. It's not that I can't do it. It's not that I don't want to do it. Once I get going, then I usually fly through the sleeve. It's just getting started. And I have done a portion of the first sleeve, but now it is at a point where I have to start keeping track of my decreases, which is fine. I just don't feel like doing it. So I'm very much a mood knitter, but I am also a product knitter, not a process knitter. Like, I want the end result. So I will return to that sweater probably when we get closer to winter, when a worsted weight sweater would be really lovely. So, new cast-ons. One of the yarns that I showed you last week was my Ruby and Roses. I had a skein of Homebody, which it's all caked up now. The tag is inside. This skein and I really fought why it was on the winder. It was quite the debacle. But I am happy to say that I did eventually get it wound, but it did require some cutting, and I lost about 15 grams of the skein. I still have that tangled mess should I need it, but after an hour of fighting with the winder and getting this plus all this yarn, I thought about throwing it away, but I did set it aside in case I need it. But I did cast on my first sock. This is a beautiful pink colorway that has blues and golds and pinks and grays. Like, it's just a beautiful, beautiful colorway. I'm loving the sock. Because I lost 15 grams and before I took my tags in the middle, before I tucked my tag in, I forgot to look. I don't think there's as much yardage in 100 grams of this plump rose base. It's 85% superwash merino, 15% nylon. So I normally do a 7-inch from cuff to heel. I opted to do 6 because I think there's probably only like 400, maybe 437 yards on a skein versus the 463 that I am accustomed to knitting with. So this is a little bit thicker of a fingering. And while I don't typically use more than 50 grams of a skein anyway, somewhere in the back of my head, I just decided to cast on 6 inches, do my 6-inch leg, and then I could be assured that I wouldn't have to play yarn chicken. So this is my vanilla sock pattern. It just lives in my head. If you are new here, I cast on 64 stitches on a US 1 2.25 millimeter needle. I do use 9-inch circulars. I do an inch of 2x2 ribbing, and then from cuff to my heel, I typically do 7-inch legs, but again, this is a 6-inch leg. I do a traditional slip stitch heel flap and gusset, turn my heel, and then for my foot, I do 7¼ inches, and then start decreasing for my toe. We'll see how much progress this gets in the next week. I really need to cast on my Raven socks and focus on them. But this is a really lovely colorway, so I know that it will keep my attention. I am definitely in a pink era, as you can see from the sock. My jaunty shawl is a mauvey pink, so I'm definitely living in a pink world right now. The other project that I casted on, and actually you saw this because I discussed last week how I had finished one sock of this colorway based on the book cover of Till There Was You, which is the name of this colorway that I want to say was not this past summer, but the summer before. So summer 2024 into fall of 2024. So last week I had done a fair amount of the leg. I have since finished the leg. I did my heel flap, turned my heel. So now I am simply, hold on, my needle came out of my stopper. I just need to do my gusset and finish the sock. This has a little progress keeper from Charmed and Dangerous. It is a little mug with cinnamon sticks and a pumpkin. It was part of my September Charm Club. So that's the other sock project that I've worked on. And so that brings me into the last sock project that I've been working on. This year, I did do some Halloween countdowns. One was a 31-day countdown based on the Evil Queen from Snow White. It's called the Mirror Mirror. You can watch YouTube shorts where I reveal every day. I reveal the colorway of the day for that. And then every week I had a Halloween countdown with sock sets, weekly sock sets based on the first 4 books of Nancy Warren's Vampire Knitting Diaries. And week 1, book 1, I set aside a DK weight set for myself. And so book 1, I have actually done the first sock. So this is Vampire Knitting Club book 1. So it's this beautiful brown that has pinks and reds and a little bit of pale yellow, a little bit of blues. It's really pretty. I don't wear a ton of brown. These were based on the book covers, and they are very fallish colors as they reveal throughout the month. I did get the second sock cast on. I'm finished the gusset. I just need to do the foot and the toe. So I anticipate this being done really quickly because, again, I opened this on Sunday. I actually cast on Monday, and on Monday I got the whole leg and the heel. Monday night, I knit for a couple of hours with friends, and I got my cuff, my leg, my heel, and my heel turned done. I even think I got my gussets done. Like, the only thing I had left was the foot and the toe. I'm telling you, if you've never knit DK weight socks, they are the fastest thing in the world. And somebody did ask me about the difference between DK weight socks and fingering weight socks. I can say that these feel more like wearing wool hiking socks. Like, they're really cozy, but you're not going to necessarily wear them every day. Like, you might not wear them to work, but they're really great when you're slipping on like your winter boots, that kind of thing. Like, if you're wearing boots, these are quite cozy. So for my DK weight socks, I use a US 3, which I think is a 2.75 millimeter. Instead of 64 stitches, I cast on 48 stitches. For this one, because I couldn't remember how much yarn I actually use, I opted to knit, again, an inch for my cuff in a 2x2 rib, and then I only knit for 5 inches down, and then did my heel flap and gusset, and then proceeded as normal with my foot and my toe. And I am on my foot, and this is what I have left. So I'll have plenty, and and then I'll know how many grams I have left, and I can determine if I can maybe go an inch longer in my DK8 socks. I was just too lazy when I did the first one that night when I was knitting with friends. I was just too lazy to get up and go get a pair of DK8 socks and measure them. And I have this much left. I know that I can technically get away with using the contrasting color for heels, toes, and cuffs, but again, I do know that it runs pretty close for me, so I opted on this one just to do cuffs and toes. So I'll kind of gauge it for the next 3 weeks as to where those are gonna go. The other thing that I casted on, I mentioned last week that I am in the Love and Stitches membership with Knitty Natty, and one of our October challenges is to knit a cozy. So it can be a can cozy, it can be a yarn cozy, it can be an e-reader cozy, like any kind of cozy. And I've never knit any of them. It's also a challenge over in Pigskin Party with the Downseller Studio podcast. So I opted to go ahead and make a classic can cozy. This is one of Knitty Natty's patterns. I just grabbed some scraps. I'm using the main characters colorway from this summer that I did for the book of the same name. I am almost 100% certain that I have some of these sock sets left in 100 grams, and there might even be some 50 gram skeins sets in there. So I had this laying around. I'm in a pink mood, apparently. And so I did start this last night. It doesn't look very big, but it definitely is going to stretch a lot. And that's how the negative ease is going to form around a can of soda, a can of sparkling water, that kind of thing. She has classic can cozies. She has slim can cozies. So if you drink like White Claws or anything that is a skinnier, like a Celsius can, those would fit in the slender cozy. And she also makes a cozy for a bottle, so like beer bottles, that sort of thing. I will say that you do start at the bottom, and so I had to magic loop this in the beginning, and then I got up to the stitch count, and I was like, oh, it'll fit on a 9-inch circular now. Well, it didn't, because the problem was I didn't have enough fabric to stretch across the middle of my 9-inch circular. So I had to do a fair amount of the ribbing. When it wouldn't fit on my 9-inch needle, I then put it back on my magic loop needles, but I do not like using magic loop. I will if I have to, but I'm not a fan. I didn't know if I had DPNs in this size, and if I did, where exactly would they be? But what I did remember is that I did know where to put my hands on some Haya flyers, which are essentially DPNs that are flexible. They have a flexible cord in the middle. So I was able to basically put half my stitches on one, half my stitches on the other, and then take the third needle and knit around. Once I got a bit of fabric, then I tried putting it back on my 9-inch circular, and it fits just fine for me to go ahead and knit around and around. So once I got it on my 9-inch circular, I was much happier, and I got through a fair amount of it. I have a couple more inches to knit before I start a couple decrease rounds, and then there is an I-cord bind off around the top of the classic can cozy. So this will suffice for the challenge that I'm doing, but I am interested in having it because I do happen to drink sparkling water and they're in cans. So it will come in handy just to absorb some of that excess condensation, essentially. The last project that I wanted to share with you is one that I started last weekend. So I had applied to be a test knitter with Claire Jackson, who is Perfectly Knotted on Ravelry. And she has this beautiful sweater called the Ever After sweater. And she had turned it into a vest. I believe the sweater is crew neck and the vest is V-neck. So I have knit for her before. I love her test knitting process. She does keep us in our own like Discord, like a private channel within her Discord. And then she uses a Google spreadsheet where everybody is listed, and you basically let her know your progress as you're working through each section. She kind of has these designated sections that she wants you to let her know once you've gotten to that point. I love that process. I love the accountability of it. She gives columns so that we can all follow each other on Instagram, that sort of thing. And then the Discord channel is just really nice. There's a section for just basic chatter. So early on, when people want to talk about, yarns or gauge and all that stuff that you talk about in the beginning. But then she also has a channel specifically for pattern questions and concerns so that that doesn't get lost in it. I really love testing for her because she is so organized about it. And again, I love the whole spreadsheet factor. I love the accountability of it. So she sent us the pattern very late on last Friday night. I had already swatched with the yarns that I had chosen. So Saturday and Sunday, I was able to work on the sweater, or the vest. And so this is the Ever After vest. And so I was able to cast on the back on Saturday, cast on the back, do all the shoulder shaping. Sunday, I was able to pick up stitches, do the shoulder shaping for the front, and then do the whole front. And I was able to then connect the two. And as you can see, I haven't gotten very far. I haven't worked on this at all during the week. I did all of this in the weekend. It is technically, which looks like a ton. It makes it look like I did nothing but knit over the weekend. And I wish that was the case, but it was not. Did I have extended periods of time where I could knit for 2 or 3 hours each day? Absolutely. And that helps. But what made this go so quickly is the simple fact that it is worsted weight. Now, you could use worsted weight yarn, or we had the option to use DK and hold it with a lace weight, which is what I've opted to do. So I had handy a skein of Petal Power, which is the same pink color that's in my Nightlight shawl. So the Petal Power color, and then I'm holding it with a Surrey Alpaca lace weight in the color Flamingo. And so these two colors look like this together. I love the idea of a bright pink vest. I know that the designer's photo, it was this beautiful burgundy colorway. I love it, and I was very tempted to do this in a solid color, but I was really torn on what color would I want. And then I thought, a gray would be really versatile. Then I was like, navy is perfect. And then I was like, I don't want to knit with dark yarn. And then I thought about, oh, I could knit with a tweed and a suri, but then again, it was the same thing. Like, what color do I want? And I didn't necessarily want to dye something new for this test because I'm focused on dyeing other things for customers. So I literally had these two colors handy near me. Like, I had a leftover skein of this from something else, and then I had it left over from doing my crochet squares from my Fleetwood and my Getty tee. So it just made sense. So I just picked this up, and I knew I had this floating around handy that I had wound up for something else and then never did. So I just combined them. And I have a whip of a sweater in this colorway that's held with a mohair that is a bright, like searing pink/magenta. So I knew that it could lean that way, but I wanted to see what it would do with the bright pink. And I kind of loved the idea of wearing a bright pink vest, but add that speckled nature of yarn. I love a good busy speckled yarn held with a mohair or a suri because it literally just kind of waters it down and softens it up, and sometimes not even staying in the same color family depending upon what you're trying to obtain color wise. But I'm actually really loving the way that this is looking, so I'm excited because I think the speckles lend a lot more versatility to this, meaning if this was just this color pink and it didn't have any of these speckles, I would never wear it with a black shirt underneath. But now, because there's the interest of the speckle, I would totally wear this over something darker, whereas it would probably feel a little more off-putting without the interest of the speckles. So I'm loving where this is going. This has to be done by the end of November. So I have a little flexibility with this. I just need to finish the body, do the hem, and then do the collar and the sleeve cuffs because, again, it's a vest. But I'm loving this. But as you can imagine, pink sweater, pink shawls, pink socks, pink cozies. It is all the pink right now in my world. And I mean, I'm even wearing pink. Everything in my life right now is pink. And I'm not complaining. I'm actually really happy about it. The other thing that I will be casting on soon is I was also added to the testers for a Samantha Guerin pattern. She sent out a test call for a sort of dual pattern. One was for a cowl, a bandana style cowl, and then the other one was a shawl. Its deadline is November 19th, so right before Thanksgiving. And because the turnaround was a little bit tighter and I knew that I had the vest, I opted to do the cowl. The shawl is gorgeous. I will tell you that. The shawl is gorgeous. But I am testing the cowl, and I have this colorway from Feederbrook Farm, and it is all purples, grays. I'm trying to pull out the tag so we can see what color this is. This is the Entropy DK. This colorway is called Dark Matter. And I did a sweater a couple of years ago by Andrea Mowry. I don't remember what it's called, but I used this color with a really like dark eggplanty color. So it was, even though you were alternating between the two, it was more monochromatic. Because the colors in this are so dark, I really was like, oh gosh, this is a cowl and a shawl pattern that is mosaic, sort of like her Grid Gambit. So think of that style bandana cowl and mosaic patterning. It's just, this one is really stunning. I mean, I liked the Grid Gambit. I've not knit it, and I do like it, but this one is really stunning. So I have 92 grams left on this cake. So I have enough yardage to use this as my contrasting color. I just needed a main color. So I am thinking probably somewhere along the lines of this mauve-ish pink to pair with this, because you probably cannot tell, but somewhere in this skein, of course you have the grays and the creams and the blacks and the different purples, but there's ever so faint of a pink. So I'm thinking I don't want to go like this bright pink. I think that's too harsh, but I think a beautiful like mauve pink, more probably a little bit on the lighter side, not quite as dark. I think that's going to be really lovely. So I don't have that in stock, and it's not, that color doesn't live in my stash. So I will have to dye a skein or two to go with this. And I'm hoping to get that done this weekend so that I can cast this on and see where it goes. Because if I don't like the way that it looks, then I need to come up with another game plan for that test knit. But that should go pretty quickly. And so that's everything that I've been knitting. Clearly, I've been busy in the last week. I've had a bit of free time. And again, I did spend a fair amount of time over the weekend, but worsted weight gauge goes really, really quickly. That gets us into what I've been watching. As for watching, I am still watching the morning show. Did I watch the whole thing? I did watch the whole, I want to say new episodes come out on Wednesdays. And so this morning while I was drinking my coffee, I did watch the 4th episode in this 3rd season. Things are really starting to get interesting on there. So I'm still watching that. I'm still watching Outlander, Blood of My Blood. We have one final episode. Today I'm filming on Thursday. The final episode is due to air tomorrow. It was supposed to air last week, and then, I don't know, at the last minute they decided that they couldn't air it or something. I don't know. But the last episode is upon us, and I'm excited to see it. We're kind of at this cliffhanger moment about a wedding, and so I'm anxious to see what happens on this last episode, and I really just don't want a big cliffhanger at the end of the season. But knowing Outlander, that's what they're going to do to me. That leads me into what I'm reading. So I finished Season of the Witch. This was a holiday fake dating relationship. It happens around Christmas time, but we are dealing with witches. So it kind of is a nice blend of a lot of people's favorite seasons. A lot of people love the Christmas holiday, winter holidays, but they also love the witchiness of Halloween. So this was kind of a nice attempt at blending those two things. This one ultimately fell a little flat for me. I loved the premise of the idea, but there was just, between our two characters, it was a second chance, like fake dating. And for me, they kept dragging out this incident that happened that caused this couple to break up in the first place, but they just kind of danced around what that incident was and never revealed it until we were like at the 80% mark. And then once it was presented to me, I was like, is that all? Like like what? So it just didn't hit for me. It wasn't a bad book. I gave it 3 stars. I could take it or leave it. I'm not mad that I read it, but it wasn't a home run for me either. I did finish, however, The Daughter of Shiloh, which is authored by Terry J. Haynes. If you are part of this fiber community, you probably know Terry. She is the head dyer over at Haynes House Yarns. This is written and published by a Christian publishing house. And for me, the Christian elements were really liked. I really felt like the setting and historical time place that we were. It's set in 1902 in Birmingham, Alabama, during the Shiloh Baptist Church Stampede, which is a real event that took place in time. So if you don't necessarily, if Christian fiction isn't normally your thing, I really think this book is a good one, because that Christian element, the setting really is what, everything is focused around the Shiloh Baptist Church. So everything's taking place in regards to this event. This book is so well written. It's so immersive and rich in detail, and the characters are deeply likable. Like, I loved the characters. I was rooting for them. There is a bit of element of suspense and kind of mystery as we get kind of towards the end of the novel. There were moments where I was like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And for me, so I love a good thriller, not that this is a thriller, but there was enough suspenseful moments in the book that it really piqued my interest. I gave this 5 stars, and it's not because it's Terry. It was just a really good book. So again, even if Christian fiction isn't really your thing, I think the historical elements and the characters are really interwoven nicely in this book. So I would totally give it a chance. I had an advanced reader copy from her publisher. She did not. I don't think she knew that. And I also bought the audiobook because it came out, I think the book came out a week ago. And so I kind of tag teams because I was under a bit of a deadline with getting my review done. And the audiobook is superb. The narrator was excellent in that one. I have now moved on to another advanced reader's copy. This one is called Autumn Nights and Holiday Lights by Elle Douglas. This is published by Harlequin Romance. I do happen to like Harlequin novels. I find them a little Hallmarky, which sometimes we all need from time to time. But they can, I will admit, be a little hit or miss. So I don't really remember right at this moment what the premise of this is. But this is kind of like my bedtime reading, that when I go to bed, this is what I'm reading. What I'm listening to is a copy of Everything is Tuberculosis by John Green. Came through at my library. It's only about a 6-hour audiobook, so I should be able to knock that out pretty quickly. If you're not familiar, John Green typically writes young adult novels. I think the most famous book he's written is The Fault in Our Stars, which was then turned into a movie. And so he apparently was on some kind of I don't want to say mission trip, but he was on some sort of trip in Sierra Leone and learned about tuberculosis, and then came home to the States, and he's figured out how it ties into everything. I've only just started this book, so I'm not deep enough into it to really give an accurate reflection of what it is, but it's getting rave reviews. People are loving it. So that's what's in my earbuds at the moment. Shop update. There is not too much. There's nothing really new as for a shop update. In 2 weeks, so August 25th, I will be at the Frederick Fiber Festival with my mobile yarn truck, and I'm, fingers crossed, really hoping for excellent weather. I love this show. I know lots of people like to come out to it. It's extremely family friendly. There are food trucks. There are a bouncy house. There are, sheep and goats, and there's even a lot of non-fiber vendors. Like, I want to say there are wineries, microbreweries. There's a pickle person, I think. There's a tea company. Like, there is just so much that goes on at this event that I almost feel like there's something for everybody, even if you're not into the fiber arts. So I'm looking forward to seeing everybody again there. I still have a few Raven sock sets, so if you yourself want to grab one and root for our team. We're doing a little like it's not looking good. I've not been very happy, especially last week. So I'm hoping that we kind of turn things around here in a couple of weeks. Some of that means that our players have to get off the injury list, but I am hoping we turn things around there. I do have more of Gridiron Goddess, which is the exclusive colorway for Pigskin Party over with Downseller Studios. If you are not familiar with this, anybody can buy this colorway, but it is dyed for Pigskin Party participants. They earn extra points in the imaginary internet points game that we're playing over there. I will leave a link in the description box so you can find out more details about Pigskin Party. It is not too late to sign up and participate. I promise it's a really good time. And if you're even the slightest bit competitive, then it's a great way to join. Even if you join and you only get one thing knitted, it's not really about how much you knit. It's really about the community and the camaraderie over there. But Gridiron Goddess is available to everyone. It is dyed to order. It takes me about a week or two to turn it around. I think right now it's been about a week. But again, I have things that are already pre-dyed, ready to ship out. So even if you order it, it might still ship out the next day or so. And that pretty much sums up everything that I have for the week. So I would love to know, what are you watching? I need some good recommendations because Blood of My Blood is ending. So I won't have that I can't remember if it's Friday or Sunday, but I won't have that weekly fix there. The morning show is great. I'm not really looking for recommendations on reality TV. Again, there's so much chaos and drama in the real world that's not really my bread and butter like it used to be. What are you watching? I would love to know. I need some good recommendations of series that I would like. And as for the emoji of the day, if you don't have a show recommendation for me, I totally understand. That's fine. But if you've made it this far, leave me some kind of moon emoji. We just had the harvest moon a couple of nights ago. So let me know that you made it this far with that moon emoji. And so until next time, friends, happy making.